Are you tired of this? Or this? Or maybe even this? Well, you've come to the right place, my fellow rejects. Get ready to extract, sit back, and relax in my video of Darktide enemies and bosses, our beginner's guide. The Infested PoxWalkers are one of the most common enemies you will see. They have no armor and no range capabilities, making them easy to defeat. Unarmored Groaners are very similar to the Infested, as they have no armor and range capabilities. Once again, these two are the most common and easiest out of the enemies you will face. Scab and Dreg. So these guys are a step up from the last two horde enemies we saw. You will start seeing them more often the harder their difficulty. Not only will they be able to damage you via melee, but also have range attacks as well. Some of them will be wearing partial flak, so in turn they will be slightly tankier, but their small health pool will balance it out. Scab Maulers can be seen in full flak armor with a carapace helmet. Knowing that, I would say not to go for their head. Instead, go for their body, as you will do more damage and will also have the chance to stagger them. Their attacks are slow and heavy, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem if you dodge correctly, although facing more than one of them at once can be quite difficult. Dreg Gunners are partially equipped in flak armor, but also quite squishy due to their small health pool. You will mainly have a problem getting close, as they are a ranged enemy who will be suppressing your team with gunfire. Taking them out via range would be preferred, although melee would suffice if you were able to get close. The Scab Gunner is very similar to the Dreg Gunner we just talked about. The only few differences are the weapon being a las gun and the armor. Alright, next up we got the Crusher. So this guy's decked out in full carapace armor. So that means he's highly resistant to bullets, flames, he has high stagger, and it's hard for him to be shoved in general. What you want to do is actually just try to dodge all of his attacks, because he's pretty slow, either by sidestepping or backwards stepping. I would recommend using heavy attacks, special weapon attacks such as a chainsword or thunder hammer, and even the bolt gun will just tear this guy up. The Bulwark is partially equipped in carapace, so that means he actually has weak points on his back, on his head, and on his torso. What you want to do is, if you're taking him on solo, is that you want to dodge his attacks or circle him so they can get an opening in either his shield and go for his torso or go for his back. His shield will actually block bullets and it will block fire as well, so that's definitely not a thing that you want to do. And I recommend, if you have teammates to help, is that you want them to aggro or you aggro and someone can get him from the flank. The Reaper is pretty much like a Dreg and Scab Gunner on steroids. He's a bit of an odd case in the sense that his torso has flak, while he has a single piece of carapace on his shoulder. So in that sense, I recommend targeting the head, arms, and even legs. The Reaper can shut down players from far away, so try to close the gap, but if you're out of ammo, then this guy can be a real pain to deal with. Scab Flamers. These guys instantly break your toughness upon contact with their flames, so making them a high kill target in combat. They can be hard to see in big crowds of enemies, but can also be easily spotted when they are attacking. I'd recommend going for the head or chest. Dregtox Flamers shoot out green flames that will also one-shot your toughness. They're pretty similar to Scab Flamers in a sense of armor, so just aim for the head if you can. Scab Bombers can be annoying to deal with, as they throw an incendiary grenade that leaves behind AoE fire that will break your toughness on contact, just like the Flamers. They're also fully covered in flak armor, so aim for the head, and if you can't anywhere else, we'll have to do. They tend to retreat after attacking, from being chased in close range, so get ready to pursue these guys when they are done attacking. Scab Trappers shoot a net that traps you until freed by a teammate. Their net itself does not do damage, but taking damage from other enemies while trapped will cause damage and corruption. Trappers can be annoying if you're a bit far from your team or if you get separated due to a horde. I'd recommend sidestepping their net from a medium to close range and taking them out as soon as possible. Scab Snipers can be identified by the red lasers emitting from the rifle from afar. Each shot is loud, and if looking directly at the sniper will give you a lens glare. Each shot will do a lot of damage, but can be easily dodged. They are so squishy, so shooting them from anywhere will just be fine. Taking them out long range would be ideal, but melee will suffice as well. PoxHounds can be annoying to fight due to their awkward pathing. They will pounce on you until saved by a teammate. They will do corruption damage as well as regular damage, so they can take out a chunk of your health permanently if not avoided. Try to sidestep their pounce right when you hear a bark, and if they miss, track them down, for that range attack will be hard as they are just slippery to catch. They are quite squishy, so aiming for the body or head will do just fine. Mutants can be heard from across the map, as their battle cry will have you listening for which direction they are coming from. Dodge their ability when you see their hand reaching out for you, as failing to do so will have you being grabbed and tossed to like a WWE match. Aim for the head or shower them with attacks all over. Staggering them will be hard, as they have insanely high stagger, so just make sure to get out of their way. PoxBursters are the worst to sneak up on your team, as they will jump and explode, causing your team being knocked back or even off the map. They are squishy and can be heard from far away, so make sure to take them out with range, or else you can try to push them away, but just make sure to double backstab away. It can be hard to do with a heavy weapon, so having a lighter weapon will be easier. Dreg Ragers is all about the patient game, as their melee attacks are hard to be interrupted and have longer range than you think. I'd recommend either waiting until they are done with their animation, or straight up staggering them with an ability or a heavy attack. If you're able to attack from a long range, it would be ideal while aiming for the head or torso. Ragers are the flak armored version of the Dreg Rager. I'd recommend the same thing, long range, or else wait for their melee attacks to be over with, as you don't want to get hit with their attacks. Dreg Shotgunners are covered in partial flak armor and attack with their medium to close range shotgun. While up close, they will stab you with their bayonet. Staggering them would be ideal in close range, or else taking them out with long range would be good too while aiming for the head or chest. Scab Shotgunners are similar to the Dreg Shotgunner but with more armor. The weak points are their arms and legs, but I recommend just shoot them in the head. They also wield a shotgun, but this time will pull out a sword instead of their bayonets in close range. The Scab Captain will have a shield surrounding him that you'll need to break in order to damage his health. Their attacks range from single to area of effect depending on the situation. Melee attacks can be dodged and so can range attacks, although timing is needed. A safe bet is to break line of sight during ranged mode so he can aggro another teammate, making it easier for you and your team to rotate and get in closer if needed. I'd recommend the whole team attacking right when he jumps down to get a head start, and then from there play it slower, as you will call other enemies to assist him, making it harder for you and your team. The Plague Ogryn can really move despite their size and being the run-of-the-mill of bosses. Aiming for their head is where they are weak, but it can be hard to hit when they are moving, so targeting their body will be fine. Try not to get smacked, as their attacks will also deal corruption damage. Fortunately, their charge and stomp ability doesn't seem to do corruption damage. Thankfully, their attacks are a bit slow, so you can easily dodge while having aggro for your teammate to get in there and take him down. Nurgle beasts have a huge weak spot on their back that is hard to miss if you're behind them. Always attack their weak spot if you're able to. Good thing they are slow and can be kited around objects, but make sure not to get slowed down by their toxic vomit, as it'll deal corruption damage. Make sure not to get too close, as they have the ability to eat you and spit you back out, dealing a good chunk of damage. Daemon Hosts are awesome, but annoying to deal with, as they are fast and a hard DPS check, and will instantly kill you if brought to a down status. I'd recommend skipping them, as they're optional if you don't disturb them. If you do decide to take them on, make sure to have an Ogryn with a slap shield to tank. If you don't have an Ogryn on your run, make sure to block and dodge their attacks and hope your team can output the DPS to save you. Demons will deal wide party corruption damage if you're close enough, and if you fail to take them down, the host will eventually leave after taking a couple of souls with them. Well, that concludes my video of Darktide enemy and bosses for beginner's guide. If you liked my video, show your local rejects support by subscribing and liking and sharing with your friends.